Everybody, and those of you who are not from Florida, welcome to the Sunshine State. It's actually warm this week. It was in the 30s here about a week and a half ago. Not what I moved here for. Yeah, Tallahassee. Yeah, my son lives up there. He was sending us pictures of snow. Yeah. We used to live in South Lake, Texas. We had snow there as well. Hey, this session is how to ramp up member participation. That's my station. It's an FT710. Works really nicely. My name's Ken Countess. My call is KN2D. Got some folks here who I actually went to high school with. You want to raise your hands, guys? Yeah, cool stuff. Anyway, my old call sign long ago was WA2MSF. So I'm born and bred New Yorker, but here for a really long time. I was first licensed in the 70s. I'm a QCWA member. My dad's call sign, you guys remember. Did he give either of you your tests? No? No, there were plenty of guys around that he did. He was K2BYD, and that's now my son's call sign. So both my wife and my oldest son are hams. And the reason for that is we were living in Dallas in 2001 when 9/11 happened. And when that happened, my wife said, what happens if the cell systems go down? We need to be able to communicate. Smart woman I married. So she got her ticket and my son got his. And so three of the five of us are hams. I love contests. My first one was the Novice Roundup a long time ago. I'm a member of OARC, Orlando Amateur Radio Club, the sponsor and the host of this great event. I'm also a member of Lamar's, which is Lake Monroe Amateur Radio Society. I'm an ARRL member. Any of you in CW Ops? A couple of you? Cool. Let's make sure we work each other. And I recognize WX2R. Yeah, we've worked each other. Who else had their hand up? I think I've worked you too. Very cool. And of course, you know, being as old as I am, QCWA. 2,000 clubs around the world. How many of you are members of an active club? Raise your hand. Good. That's why you're here. So how's your club doing? No, yeah, active. Are you involved? That's really the question. We're going to teach you how to ramp up member participation. Now, this is going to go by fairly quickly. We don't have a lot of time together. So I'm going to recommend that you not get distracted by checking your phone for texts and emails. I guarantee you those will still be there when we get done here. Use it to take pictures. Oh, by the way, if you take a picture of this session, send it to me. I'd love to build up a collection. My email address is at the bottom of every slide. My website's over on the other side, or you can text me at the number that you see. And you can get a copy of the presentation. Here's how you do it. Use your phone. Take a picture of that QR code. That's going to take you to a landing page. And the landing page will ask you for your call sign, your email address, and your first name. That's it. And so I will send you a copy of the presentation. You'll also be able to download it. The good news is the presentation you get via email will be longer than this one. I had to strip out a bunch of stuff just to make sure we stayed within the hour's time. So there's lots more stuff. Are you ready? Say yes if you're ready. Yeah. All right, so let's get started. This is how to ramp up member participation. The goal of every club is to not just get people to write a check, to keep them involved, so that when you have events, people show up and they get involved. So I'm going to teach you how to do that. I'm going to give you the secret sauce. And by the way, let me also tell you, this is not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. It's engaging your members by communicating with them all the time. Now, we're hams. We love communication. I'm going to give you some tips on how to communicate with your fellow hams to get them to show up. I'm going to teach you how to get them engaged, to make your events amazingly successful. And when I think about Hamcation, they had 30,000 people here last year. How did they do it? They communicated. And then I know OARC does a great job. Hey, I've known Steve since 8th grade? 9th grade? That's right. And we got 2 other guys here that you know as well. So here's what I'm going to cover. It's how to get your club members more engaged, to have them show up for events, get them to volunteer, because we know that's the lifeblood of good, successful clubs, and how to get them more active on the air and off the air too. And also, we'll talk about strategies for getting the newer members involved, and how to get the I was going to say old members, how to get the long-time members more engaged, and how to keep them involved, and how to get the existing membership, the old-timers and young-timers, to get more people involved in the club. So what I want you to think about is this. Who's currently involved in your club activities? Is it always the same people, month after month after month? And then who do you have in the club that writes the check so they can say, I'm a member, and then not do anything with it? Yeah, it's like ARRL, right? I write the check, I get QST, but that's kind of the extent of it, right? That's not what you want your club to be. Say again? I get the print version. I mean, I do look at it online, but I love having the copy in my hands. Quick story. I live in an HOA community, like many people do. And the hurricanes took down my very sophisticated antennas, dipoles. And I was trying to figure out how to get them back up into the trees. Our trees are, 50 or 60 feet high. Now, I hired a handyman who took a softball, and that made it to about 30 feet. I found an air cannon who's in QST, classified ads, the paper copy that I took with me on the airplane. All right, so I want you to take a look at your existing membership and who those people are that show up every time, and they get involved in every event. But what you want to do is you want to ask them, why are you active in the club? Get a read from them, because they may tip you off on ways that you can get the inactive members involved. Are they there for public service? They love helping organize and run 5K races, marathons, trips like that. Are they there to learn? Or are they just there to socialize? It's a day out with the guys or gals, or a night out with the girls and gals. So my suggestion to you is, these days it's so easy to survey your members. Right? SurveyMonkey, there's a bunch of them out there. Ask them. Ask them what it is that keeps them coming back. That'll be great insight for you to get more people involved. And then look at the inactive folks. They pay their dues. Ask them, what will get you more involved? Maybe your club offers something they're just not aware of because they never get involved. Ask the questions. You'd be amazed at what people will tell you. Some of it may be stuff you don't want to hear, but that's good info too, right? The meetings are too long, there's not enough good programming, whatever the reason might be. It's not a convenient day or time. I belong to the 2 clubs locally that I mentioned a few minutes ago, and they offer stuff. The Lake Monroe Amateur Radio Society does a weekly breakfast at a diner, and they call it Eggs and Hams.
That's cool.
It is cool, yeah. I went there one time, and there were like 30 people around the table, right? Just shooting the breeze, schmoozing, yeah.
We do that same sort of thing, only we meet in a local park.
Okay.
Same place where we hold field day.
He said if you couldn't hear in the back, they do their stuff at a local park, same place they use for field day.
Bring a lunch.
Yeah, bring a lunch. Cool. Any other ideas? No? Are you still awake? So for those that aren't active, once again, go ahead and ask them, what is it that would get them involved? What is it? What's the reason that they don't get involved? And then, once you have this information, create a list and communicate with the folks that are routinely, regularly active. And for those who aren't very active, create a list of them too. And do campaigns, marketing campaigns, to help get them re-energized. They signed up to join your club for a reason. It wasn't that they had 35 or 50 extra bucks that they wanted to just throw at some group. There's a reason they got involved. And if you're not fulfilling the need, ask them how they can get more involved. Now we're going to get into the meat. That was the intro. How to get people more involved. There are 5 major tools that you have at your disposal to get people involved. And I'm going to go through each of them, some in more depth than others. The first is your website. How many of you are a part of a club that does have a website? Okay, good. How much traffic are you getting to the website? Not a whole lot. Yeah, a little bit. When I was putting this presentation together, I went through an ARRL list of clubs, and it blew me away how many clubs either did not have a website or it was so far out of date, I would have been embarrassed to give out the URL. And there were some clubs that hadn't updated their website in 10 years. And when you ask them, well, why not? They say, we use Facebook now. Well, that's okay. Facebook is okay, but not everybody's on it. And they're not on it on a regular basis. So here are some of the clubs that I found that have really good websites. You may recognize a couple of them. This is Fairlawn, New Jersey. This is the Orlando Amateur Radio Club. If you have not checked out their site, you may have to sign up for Hamcation. But they do a wonderful job of keeping members up to date on what's going on in the club and how to stay in touch with people. This one, the Arrow, what do they call themselves? The Michigan, it's probably easier to read up here, Michigan's Washtenaw and Wayne counties. Their website's really, really good. It's got lots of information in it. And they publicize their events both in the right-hand column of the home page, but also if you click on an event, it takes you to their event calendar where you can easily, see if this works, where you can easily sign up, add it to your calendar, and if their events, their meetings are on the same day of the month, third Tuesday, so if you use Google Calendar or Apple Calendar, register, and you could set it up so you get reminded every month so you don't miss a meeting. That's what you want your members to do. Register to come to the next meeting, but add it to your calendar so you're reminded every month. I guarantee you that will get you more people at your meetings on a regular basis. But check your website. Make sure that it's up to date. Again, there are so many that were so out of date. Yeah?
I might be getting ahead of you, but are there any web hosting services that you would recommend that are user-friendly? Like, we've got a pretty quiet little club, and we use QTA. And I'm the youngest of the group and know the most about it, so I try to host it. Are there any platforms out there you recommend without breaking the bank?
Yeah, well, there's a difference between hosting, as you know, and building the site, right? For my own website, I use Squarespace. They're hosting it, but I use web.com to build the site. So it's built on web.com, which I do not recommend. and then Squarespace. My wife uses WordPress, and we have a hosting service. It's called Upper Level. They're somewhere in New Jersey. They've been hosting our stuff for a long time. Reasonably priced, $60, $100 a year, no matter how much content you have on there. So those are a couple that I'm aware of that I recommend. I don't endorse or sponsor any of them. That's just our own experience. I saw a hand up over here. Yes?
You got the right idea with building it. Don't go to the marketplaces that uses the word press. That's terrible. Uninitiated people.
That's true, yeah. If you don't know what you're doing, don't go to WordPress. I mean, Wix is easy to use. Web.com is easy to use, but it's kind of clunky. I mean, I've got...
That's our experience with WordPress, too. You got to know it.
Yeah. The good news about WordPress, though, is there are so many companies, small companies, that have built templates that are much more user-friendly than you find on WordPress. If you send me an email, I have a virtual assistant that lives in Durham, North Carolina, and she's very web savvy. And so whenever I have a question about something, I ask her. Shoot me a note and I'll send it off to her, and no obligation. We'll give you the answers that hopefully will help you out. Let's talk a little bit about social media. Anybody here using social media? Raise your hand. Yeah, most of you. I mean, there are people who won't admit to using it, but they do. I know that too. So these are the big five, right? Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, TikTok. The one that most of us use is Facebook, right? There are people that use the other ones, mostly for stuff outside of ham radio. But if you want to reach the masses within your club, everybody knows Facebook, right? And they may love it or hate it, but they do use it, even if they don't admit to it. So what you want to make sure you do, no matter what social media platform you're using, is complete the profile. Again, and just looking at other clubs around North America that are using social, it was shocking how many clubs had very incomplete profiles. And when the profiles are not complete, it makes you harder to be found. So you make sure you've got the right keywords in there. Stuff it with words that people are looking for you on. It could be as simple as ham radio, SSB, CW, FT8, FT4. Make sure those show up on your Facebook page to make it easy for people to find you. So the way you optimize them, of course, is complete the profile, but make sure your imagery is professional looking as well. Don't use something that you just cobbled together. There are some great tools out there today where if you don't have a professional looking logo for your club, you go to a tool like Canva. Have you heard of Canva? C-A-N-V-A. Cheap. It's free. There's free versions. The pro version is something like $100 a year. But it has a logo builder. It has all sorts of really cool tools. So if you don't have a logo or you don't have a graphic designer as a member of your club, Canva is what I recommend. And make it eye-catching. Right? You're looking to attract attention. And make sure you put information in the business description and about areas. Yeah?
Facebook page versus Facebook group.
The page you own, the group you invite other members to.
So again, which is better for radio?
Page. Facebook page. Okay. Absolutely. That's your home base. Right? You can add groups afterward, but get people, create the page first, get some traffic to it, and then you can add groups as subgroups to the page. But here's the key. Once you put it up there, post on a regular basis. All of the social media platforms are controlled by algorithms. And if the page is not very active, Mark Zuckerberg ranks it very low. Right? So the more you post, the higher the probability that You're going to be found. But really, you want to get your members to, you want to drive them to the page, but then you want to encourage them to post, to share, to invite fellow hams, to get traffic up on your page. So what do you put up there? Now that you've got a page up, what do you do? Well, success stories, they drive a ton of traffic. This is the Orlando Amateur Radio Club, who did a thing with one of the local schools when the International Space Station, you know, they were getting, I forget what the date was, it was sometime in late December, right around Christmas time. So a crew of people from OARC, Orlando Amateur Radio Club, went over the course of several months to teach the kids a little bit about ham radio. I mean, these are elementary school kids. Teach them a little bit about radio and drive excitement so that on the big day where they were going to contact the space station, not only did they have the kids involved, but they got TV coverage, they got newspaper coverage, they got radio coverage. You can find it all online. This is the Lake Monroe Amateur Radio Club with Jamboree over the air, right? The Scouts thing. They're very actively involved in the Scouts. And then this is also in prep for JOTA. These pictures were courtesy of Joe Marsh, KQ4AID, who I'm sure is here at the show. If you see him, say hello. Other things that you could do to get more people engaged, do live Q&A sessions. You know, thankfully, we're pretty much out of the whole pandemic thing, but everybody got accustomed to using Zoom. And so many, many clubs are doing events these days still using Zoom. In fact, the Orlando Amateur Radio Club gets guest speakers in from around the country. And they come in on Zoom and they invite club members. They say, hey, if you can't be here live with us, join us via Zoom. And so there's lots of stuff that they do. They do a Christmas party and they promote the heck out of the party and then post pictures virtually everywhere. This is that Michigan club that I mentioned earlier, where they did I forget exactly what the event was, but they invited people via Zoom. You can see the guy moving around there. And then ARRL, great source of content as well. Link to the ARRL site, add them to your Facebook page. Yeah, hand up in the back.
Now that we're post-pandemic, do you think having Zoom meetings is possibly hurting local attendance at the meetings?
No, not at all. You know why? People want to get out. And there are people who don't want to be around people, right, live. No, I mean, in the Orlando Club, which has 300 members, we have people signing in via Zoom, but they have the option to show up. But it's a great way to have distant relationships, too, with people and other clubs.
Snowbirds that continue to
In this area, snowbirds, yeah. We do, for sure, have lots of snowbirds that join the club meetings in July when it's hot as the blazes here, and they're in Maine and Vermont and other places that aren't anywhere near as hot as it is here. It gets pretty brutal here. Yeah?
Just to touch on that again, we're a much smaller club, and we're debating on whether we should have Zoom meetings, which allow everybody to attend. And we have a lot of elderly folks who don't get out. Period.
Sure.
So we say, well, do we do Zoom meetings so they can attend, or do we do non-Zoom meetings, forcing everybody to come together so that we build relationships?
What I would do, where's your club, by the way? Where are you from?
I'm from Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville. So what I would recommend you do is a survey of your club. Ask them, would you prefer Zoom meetings? Would you prefer in person? Do you care? They'll tell you. You know, it's funny. I've been a marketing guy for a long time, 40-something years. And one of the premises of good marketing is knowing your audience. Just ask them. They'll tell you. Yes?
Just a comment on Zoom. 20 years, my mentor in my church has been using Zoom. Playing on a site meeting. It's one of the most successful things we ever did. And our members are not nailed down. They travel and they come in by Zoom. It keeps the membership active when they're not around.
So in your choice, they have a choice.
Absolutely.
Your situation, they have a choice.
Absolutely. It is the main reason we have the membership we've got.
Thanks.
Good. Thanks for that. Yes?
Our club's experimenting with Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams. And one of the things we're finding is make sure that somebody can call in on a phone and just sit there on the phone. You can't get in through the internet, make sure at least they can call in.
That's true. Yeah. How are you finding Teams working out?
We did a meeting last night and 15 people there, which is normally which opens sometimes. And we're in Pennsylvania. Our clubhouse is buried in snow, so we do the winter months by electronic.
Yeah, it's a great option.
And Teams is working okay.
Yeah, these virtual options work well. Yes?
Yeah, I belong to several clubs, and a lot of them, it's the wheelchair walker setting.
Uh-huh.
I'm in South Florida.
Right.
South of Lake Okeechobee, volunteerism is very low.
Sure.
But two of those clubs do hybrid meetings. They meet in person, but they also have it on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And it works very well. So many people are snowbirds, and before, and they come into the meeting. Some people are on vacation, or we had one of the clubs, the treasurer who likes to travel. He came in from Japan. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. But he got on and was there for the meeting. So, blending the two, I think, is the best way because it gives people an option. And if they're sick, some people have not felt well, so I wouldn't go to meetings, but I can Zoom in.
Yeah, it's hard to have an excuse not to show up when you have the virtual option.
It's also good because we got some people from like PX Engineering, Professor PX Engineering.
Sure.
They came in and were presenting via Zoom.
Yeah, the Orlando Club had somebody from, actually they had Bob Heil before he passed, and he joined us via Zoom. It was amazing. Yes, sir.
Follow. Send your agenda out weekly from all of your members so that they know what the agenda is going to, the topics are going to be, and then it's scheduled for a time on Zoom.
Hey, while I'm thinking about it, I passed around these cards early before everybody showed up. If you take a card, the QR code that's on there will get you to the same place that I showed on screen. So at your convenience, you can go ahead and snap that, on your phone or on your laptop.
Why are they asking for a credit card?
They don't ask you for a credit card.
Yeah, she did. I just tried it.
Well, it shouldn't be. That's it. No, that's if you sign up for Constant Contact. This is not a sales pitch. That QR code should take you just to a page that asks you for your ham call sign, your name, and an email address. But send me an email and I'll send you the presentation. I'm not looking to sell anything. Yeah.
So our club uses Microsoft Teams, and we just found out that Microsoft 365, they have it's free for non-costs. Our club is a 501c3.
Good.
They get it for
Yeah, awesome.
great price.
Another hand.
So I have 2 questions.
Yes.
So one, how do you drive traffic to your website and all your social media without paying for it?
Sure.
And then my second question is those of you doing virtual meetings, what are you offering via the virtual meeting? Besides presentation.
Like why do people want to meet? Like what's drawing people to the club at first?
Yeah, what's drawing? Sure.
Young club.
Okay. So
let.
Good. So let's start with the first one. How do you draw people to your website? Do you have a Facebook page?
Yep.
Send them to your website from your Facebook page. Do you have an email list?
Yes and no.
Okay. Well, for the yes, send them an email that drives them to your page. But tell them what to expect there. Right? I mean, we all get emails with all kinds of junk in there. You want to know what they're going to get when they get to the page. So if you've got some YouTube video that you think would be valuable for them to watch, drive them to that page on your website. Don't drive them to the home page. Drive them to the part of your site that they will most benefit from. So maybe it's a page that announces your upcoming meetings. Maybe you have a downloadable PDF on how to build a great antenna. You know, something with the next contest coming. I mean, the possibilities are endless. But give them something that will help them do fill in the blank, not to the homepage. And that doesn't cost you anything, neither of those. What was the other question? I forgot.
Virtual meetings, what are you offering people who are virtually attending your meeting besides virtual?
Sure. So for the people that you want to attend virtually, give them a program that will get them interested enough to click the Zoom link and sign in.
Like what?
I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Okay.
Yes?
One thing with the programs on the virtual meeting is record them and save them on your website, because then somebody misses a meeting and wants to go back and watch it again, they can go watch that recording again.
Very true. Yes?
Is there a point where sending emails and membership that's too much emails to get tired and they start moving on?
Yeah, they will tell you quickly by unsubscribing. One a month is probably all you need. Just one a month. Anybody else before we move on? And I'll give you those ideas on programming. All right. So there are several ways that you can create great content. This applies first to social media, then we'll talk about events for the club. A lot of people get stuck on writing content. They go, I have no idea what to write. That's fine. Go see what other clubs are doing. That'll generate some great ideas for you. And see what on those other clubs' pages is generating the most comment. So if there's a club you find with a Facebook page and they have, let's say, 100 members, and they're posting stuff, and one of the posts got 30 comments or shares or whatever, take that post and curate it and use it for your own club. You're going, no.
No, I know where you're going. I'm a marketing guy, so it's not my life.
My apologies.
Hey, I retired pretty well.
Yeah, okay.
But nevertheless, I mean, the differentiator is understanding that there's an old adage that all clubs are tribes. Okay, every club is unique. Orlando is different than the other clubs.
It is, yeah. They're very different.
And so if you, I think you've made an excellent point in understanding the fact that if you survey your audience, you're going to understand what they do. Understanding really what the selling points are, what brought you to the club,
Right.
what brought you to amateur radio, are things that are going to be slightly different, okay, than from one club to another, because their cultures. Some are more open than others, some are closed.
True.
There's a history there. I belong to the Fairlawn Club. Thank you for mentioning it.
Oh, okay.
I'm the marketing guy.
It showed up well in the rankings.
Thank you. But using that, I think, is understanding how your club is different. What are the attributes that you bring to your club? Attributes is a marketing word, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's understanding what is unique about you that you can tell others. Okay, that makes you want to go to Lake Wales as opposed to Jacksonville. No, not Jacksonville. It's just the fact that it's a different club and the fit is different and understanding.
Yeah, the vibe is different. Yeah, I mean, here locally, the two biggest clubs are Lake Monroe, Lamar's, and Orlando, and they have very different feels.
Yeah, and it's marketing and telling your club what you're marketing to. Metrics matter.
Right.
And setting a goal and reaching those.
Sure. So the card that's going around has that QR code. If you prefer to use the website, that's the URL. All right, let's move on to email marketing. Why use email? Everybody checks their email. Whether they admit it or not, they do. And the latest stats are that 20% of people check their email 20 times a day, believe it or not. 90% of people check their email at least 3 times a day. So you need to show up. That's where you know your audience is every day. And as long as you show up with information that they find valuable or relevant, they'll open up your email. At the very least, they won't unsubscribe. So you want to keep your brand. This is really what it's all about, Mr. Marketing Friend. Ed?
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
It is. So the thing about email is that email keeps you top of mind. Social media is driven by algorithm. There's no guarantee that you're going to show up in somebody's feed if you post, unless you pay. And even then, you may or may not show up. So the benefit and the beauty of email is that you own that channel. You don't own your social media page. It may be your club's page, but Mark Zuckerberg controls your Facebook page. Hand over here and then over here.
I was just gonna ask, how many people use Groups.io for their email?
Say that one more time.
How many people use Groups.io for the email reflector?
That's a good question. Who uses Groups.io for their email reflector? Yeah, quite a few. Yeah, it's good.
Keep that up to keep the emails down. They
Yeah.
post to a digest. One email a day
Right.
gets you all the information for the club.
Exactly. Yeah, so if you're not familiar with Groups.io, thanks for bringing that up. Paul?
Yeah.
It's hard to read. Yeah, that's a great way to do it. No, I wound up reading your shirt.
In PR communications, there's push and there's pull.
Right?
Push, well, pull is Facebook. People have to go to Facebook. They have to make the motion to get there. Push is you've pushed it to them, and that's what email does, is it pushes the information to them.
Good. Thank you. All right. So, which clubs here are actually using email newsletters to communicate with their membership? Excellent. For the rest of you, consider using it. Because, as Stan points out, you're pushing information to them that they may not otherwise see. And email marketing is really inexpensive. I mean, there are lots of free programs out there. So use it to send your members club news, let them know about upcoming events, any special announcements, things that are coming up that you want them to know about, and use your social media, use your Facebook page to build your email list. So when you're posting things on your Facebook page, have a link in there. Join our email list so you can stay up to date on what's happening in the club. And when they join your list, send them an email immediately. When people sign up for your list, that's when they're most engaged. You've already gotten them excited enough to give you their email address. So give them some sort of a bonus. Downloadable PDF is something. Use your imagination, but welcome them to the club and then stay in touch with them and ask them how often they would enjoy getting an email from you. Once again, it's communication. It's not one way. Make it two-way. Ask them, and they'll respond, and they'll give you some clues on how to get them to stay involved beyond writing that initial check. Hand in the back. Jacksonville man.
Thank you. So what program do you use then to set the subscription and then to send the auto reply? That doesn't sound like Outlook to me.
No, it's not. There are many out there. I use Constant Contact. I'm their top trainer. But Constant Contact, MailChimp, MyEmma, I mean, there's 20 or 30 that are free or close to free that allow you to have somebody sign up for the list and you set up an autoresponder. Right? So instantly or at the time you want, a day, a week, an hour later, sends them an email welcoming them to the club. And then the next email can also be automated. I mean, you don't have to have somebody as a slave to the keyboard. reminding them of upcoming events. The question was asked, well, how often should I send an email? Well, think about your audience. Think about how often they might expect to get one, but let them know how often to expect an email from you. That's the best bet. And again, unless you have an event coming up, once a month is typically adequate. Let's talk about events. This is the driver to get people engaged. The events are going to be the lifeblood of your club. When you download the deck, by the way, when you use that URL, I've got 30 more things there, 30 more events than I will be showing you here. But there are all sorts of things. All of these things are, you know about. I mean, there's no, as I said, it's not rocket science. This isn't brain surgery. But having a list in front of you is a prompt to give you some ideas on how to get more people to show up at your events. There's one group, I have cruises listed here. The local QCWA chapter, Quarter Century Wireless Association. We have a monthly meeting. It's, I think, the second Thursday of the month. One thing they do every year is a cruise down the Intracoastal Waterway. It's not something I'm necessarily interested in doing, but they get a big turnout for that. And again, it's just a day, an afternoon out with a bunch of people who share the same hobby, and you get to know each other a little bit better. Game night, could be poker, could be something else. Or go to a field trip. I was a member when I lived in South Florida, Broward Amateur Radio Club. I know we have a few Broward or past Broward people. There were picnics. I remember one year we went to a local TV station to kind of get behind the scenes and how they put newscasts together. It was really cool. Trivia game, just at your monthly meeting. And this is something you could do via Zoom as well. QSL card night. Anybody here still sending paper QSLs? Yeah, a lot of you are. One of the more recent QCWA meetings here was bring in your QSL cards and DX cards and show them off. It was an amazing meeting. And we had people who brought in cards, Antarctica, Pitcairn Island, other cool DX places, and the stories behind them is what really made it great. There are so many new modes. I mean, for the old timers like me, who when I started, it was CW, AM, and SSB, and that was it. Then there was slow scan TV. Now, of course, we've got FT8, FT4 ready.
Put your QSL card on your business card.
Yeah, your call sign. Yeah, call sign. Excellent.
That's my QSL card.
It is? That's cool. He has a great call sign, by the way, K2 Ken, K-E-N. I love it. I actually looked up. I was thinking about changing my vanity call sign from KN2D to K2 KEN, and it was taken. Now I know who's got it. Are you willing to sell it?
You can't afford me. $35.
Yeah. So other things about ham radio. This, again, it's not rocket science. This is stuff you know, right? Volunteer examiners, anybody out here at a VE? Yeah, a few of you. Your Orlando club, every month before the meeting, they do tests. And they announce at the meeting how many people pass their general or extra. It's really quite cool. And now let's talk about PR. When you're a member of the club and you know what's going on, that's great. But what about everybody else? Well, for your events, your internal events, publicize them early and often. For events that you want the public to know about 6 weeks out is when you should start promoting those events. Not only for the membership, but for local media. There may be events that you want the local TV station to show up at with a camera. OARC does a really great job of that. They had, I mentioned earlier, the ISS contact. I think it was Channel 6 locally, went out there with a camera crew, and you could find it online. I know you can't hear the audio in the back, but this was on CBS Sunday Morning a few years ago, where they interviewed kids who had become hams. It's a cool piece. If you do a YouTube search, you'll find it. But these are some other photos I found online from clubs that are promoting their events. So there's somebody at QRP.com, North Escambia. Not sure where that is. I know it's somewhere in the south. Cherokee Amateur Radio Club with an antenna build. Yes.
We did Aris about 10 years ago. We got the local, this is West Palm Beach, Florida, NBC station to do a personal TV on that, and they interviewed me. And they
WPTV.
televised the actual event.
Yeah.
It was a public
Yeah.
service,
They're all hungry for content.
especially with their kids.
Especially with their kids. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, in today's world, there's so much content out there, but we need to generate it. And reporters are always looking for that good story. When I worked at Motorola in West Palm Beach, Boynton Beach, I should say, the Palm Beach Post would cover everything that Motorola did, everything. And there was one guy, I don't know if he's still there, but he would call me all the time looking for a hot tip, you know, some story. I'd say, Steve, why do you call me all the time? He said, I'll tell you why. I want to win a Pulitzer Prize one day. And I never know what story is going to do it. So I'm going to cover everything I can about your company. It's the motivation of a journalist, right? Be recognized. So feed them, get friendly with your local media outlets, newspaper, radio, TV, and invite them to a club meeting, especially when you know you're going to have a good program. And you'll be surprised, maybe not so surprised, when your club's events show up in local TV. So use visual stuff as much as you possibly can. I mentioned earlier about the Boy Scout thing. Have a TV station come out and cover somebody using FTA. You know, sometimes that stuff can look pretty cool. It's certainly intriguing. It's colorful. Color gets people engaged. So all of these combine together as the secret sauce to get more people involved. So to close things out, hold regular in-person meetings. Sounds like most of you are doing that already. Make sure they start and end on time. The programming is important. If you're, the leadership of a club is busy oftentimes doing other stuff. They may have a day job. They can't come up with all the ideas. So ask your members, what would interest them? What would they like to see as programming? And when you stick that on the calendar, make it easy for someone to register to show up. Once they register, by the way, then you can email them as a reminder and then have them add it on their calendar so they don't forget that on the third Monday of the month they show up. Keep your website up to date. Post regularly on social. Tag the people in the photos so it shows up in their feed and they'll go to the Facebook page and share with people they know. If you want to know how to get more traffic to your website, that's one way to do that. And don't overcomplicate it. We've all got other things to do. So take the content that you've created and post it in one place and reuse it in the other places. If they find the same stuff, your members find the same stuff in multiple places, there's nothing wrong with that. But they're not out there every day checking the website and, oh, did they post that on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and TikTok? No. You just want to get the word out as many places as you can. And if you're not sure what to do, let AI help you. Anybody here using AI? Hope all hands go up. It's easy to create stuff.
Too easy.
Almost too easy, yeah. I'm an email marketing guy. My wife is a life coach. And she asked me early on, hey, would you write my emails for me? I'm like, I don't know your business, you do. So she found ChatGPT. ChatGPT writes all of her emails now. All right, so let's wrap things up. Make sure you use a multi-channel strategy, meaning website, Facebook, email newsletters. Make sure that you communicate with your membership often. If you've got members that have great achievements, even minor achievements, let the rest of your club know. If somebody upgraded to extra, let everybody know. If 8 people passed a test in the last month, let your members know. If you have a picnic coming up, let them know well in advance. Now, when it comes to your board, most people on the board of the clubs I've been a member of look like me. They've got, white hair coming in. That doesn't attract the younger crowd. So as best you can, encourage young folks, young meaning under 60, under 50, under 40, under 30, invite them to get involved because they've got some great ideas that you may not have thought of. And they have friends who might like to get involved if they know enough about the club. Yeah, Stan.
About 4 or 5 years ago, those of us who were members of the board all were gray-haired. So what we did with the next election coming up was we all resigned. And we insisted that anybody, or that we needed new officers, and that we wanted people that were younger. It took a little while, and we actually had to tell them that, okay, if we didn't have enough board members, we were going to have to terminate the club, and we're 501s, whatever, and give back all of our money and all that. And we threatened them. And we finally got everybody, and most of our board members now are in the 40-year-old range.
That's awesome. Great. Thank you. Okay. Make sure you promote what's going on in the club. Yes.
I use ham radio to promote what's going on in the club. Repeater announcements.
Excellent.
I have them in rotation. Hey, breakfast every Saturday. Field day, winter field day coming up on the 28th. Running out 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time, so you're not killing everybody with the same sound, but I have them in rotation. Even APRS, let that thing beacon. Field day, train station, June 28th. Here's the coordinates. Questions, email.
Excellent.
And the website. I always point them back to the website.
Those
Everybody
are great.
Can get to the website.
Driving people to the website will do you more
and from
good.
There, hey, you want to go to Facebook, you want to go to Twitter, you want to go
Good. Thanks, Chris.
So I got the top 4 done.
Thank you. Ken.
We run at least 2 VE sessions a year.
They run at least 2 VE sessions a year is what he said. Excellent. Yes.
Yeah, building on what you said, I do the announcements locally for our area, and we have a traffic net every night, and I get out of the announcements every night. The announcements that I read are also posted on at least 3 club websites and the traffic net website. So anybody who misses the announcements will go see them. It's got meetings, what's going on, stuff that's coming up in the future, like running Hamcation, and on there for like a month is upcoming events, so they can see what's going on. They know what meetings are happening on what day.
Excellent. Thank you for that. All right. So encourage your members to bring guests. Invite the newly licensed folks. I see your hand. I'll get to you in just a minute. I just want to make sure we end on time. Because it's starting to get warm, and I know everybody wants to get back into the AC. Mail your newsletter to area hams with a special invitation to future meeting. You can go on various websites and put in a zip code, for instance, and it'll show you all the hams in that zip code. And then you could do a lookup and get their email addresses. They're all on qrz.com. One other thing I recommend you do. If you don't have a PIO, not a PIA, PIO, Public Information Officer, Could be somebody that's charged with making sure that the communication happens on a regular basis. And make your club easy to do business with. I know lots of clubs don't allow people to become members unless they write a check and send it in. That's called friction. Friction meaning you make it too tough to join. Get them to pay via Zelle or Venmo or some other electronic way. That'll get people more engaged, more involved. They'll know that you're an up-to-date club, that you're not just a bunch of old folks who still rely on paper checks. One last thing, make sure that every meeting has a presentation of some kind, because there may be something in there that somebody who had totally ignored the club for a long time would find interesting and then attend. Make sure your calendar is full. I see, I'll get to you in just a moment. And so, other things that you could do to drive up recognition for the club, team up with public safety, right? 5Ks, marathon, runs. We have one coming up tomorrow here locally that'll probably have 5,000 people. And guess what they need? Communication. Guess who can supply and help out public safety? Everybody loves gaming. Ham radio can be something that you could use as a spark for the younger folks and do some gaming out of it. Challenge new licensees to see how many FT8 contacts they can make over the course of a weekend. I've driven up my own DXCC to 170 just in the last few months. Yeah.
One of the fun things you do earlier, you mentioned having picnics and one of these picnics at Fox.
Yeah, Fox Hunt. Yeah, I actually had that. We could spend hours on all this stuff. I'm glad you brought Fox Hunts up because they're fun, right? I love to get the young folks involved. You had your hand up for a while.
You mentioned recruiting. Whenever we have a testing session, as the people are leaving, I give them something. First of all, our club gives all the people that we asked to test with us free membership for the rest of the year or the next year at the end of the year. So I give them a membership form. I have a pen right there that suggests that they actually fill it out right then. And it's surprising how many of these people now come back, whereas before they went off and we never saw them again.
Give them a reason to get involved. Okay, one last thing. I'd be remiss if I didn't put this slide up here. I use this for every presentation I do. If you're not using email marketing, let me teach you how to use it. Free. I don't charge people to show them what to do. I want you to grow your club. That's why you're here. So take advantage of that. You could use that URL or the QR code to sign up for a free trial. Yes?
Very important. West Palm Beach, about 10 years ago, was going to rewrite their local code on towers. We got the CIO officer out of ARRL.
Let's see if you can. Let's get this to you because I'm having a hard time.
We got the PIO officer out of ARRL to come down and with us educated the officers of the town on what they could restrict and what they could not restrict.
That's great. Okay, we are out of time. I will be here. Thank you. Glad you came. If you like my business